Hello everyone, I'm going to show you today how to change a bike tyre if you have a puncture, basically how to repair the puncture, should you be unfortunate enough to get one out on the road. I'll start with it fairly basic. There are a few tips and hints on the way that I'll go through, and if you have any questions please just type in the chat which I can see, and I'll try and answer them as we go. So first of all, I've got a bike wheel for you here. It's a standard road bike wheel. Currently the tyre is inflated. I'm going to use this, as you can see, to simulate having a puncture. Now the most common punctures are punctures where a piece of glass or another foreign object goes through the rolling surface of the tyre, and that's what we're going to do. This pains me greatly, I must say. So here we go, I'm riding along, hit a piece of glass, and I've now got a puncture. I can hear the air hissing out of this. You may be able to hear it. There you go, my tyre is slowly going down. Now, you can normally feel this when you're riding. If it's a front wheel, the handling will start to go sloppy, you'll start to wind all over the road. If it's the back, you might start to feel like the bike is bouncing up and down as your pedalling makes it hop. Nearly all the air is out of this tyre now. Okay, so I've had a flat. This is bad news. What do you need to make sure that you can repair a flat on the go? I'm going to let the rest of the air out just to speed this up slightly. The basic tools you need are the following. You'll need a puncture repair kit, and you'll need some tyre levers. The tyre levers are used to get the tyre off the rim of the wheel. The puncture repair kit can be used to repair the puncture itself. Now a wise rider would also carry a spare puncture, because a spare inner tube, because trying to find a puncture, say you're out at night on the road, it's raining, it's not a nice thing to have to do, to stand at the side of the road and repair a tube. So carry a spare inner tube. Someone's just asked me how long I've been riding a bike for. Since I was about 3 years old. I think one of my earliest memories is going over the handlebars of my first bike. Probably explains a lot. So where we are now, I've got a flat. What you don't want to do, the immediate temptation is to take the tyre off. Don't do that. If you've had a problem on the road, then best thing to do is actually to try and put some air back in the tyre, and I'll explain why shortly. So here I have a pump. That's the other thing that you need. Although you can replace the tube, you're not going to be able to reinflate your tyre unless you've got a pump. Now, bikes have different sorts of valve. Make sure you get the right one for your inner tube. This, I'll hold up to camera. This is a Schrader valve, or known as a car tyre valve. It's very, very common on mountain bikes. The next one I'm going to show you is a Presta valve. These are very common on road bikes. To get air in, you have to undo this little knob on the top. It lets you get air in and lets you let air out as well if you press down on it. Make sure you get a pump that handles the right sort of inner tube. Pumps come in a couple of sorts. This one clicks directly onto the valve, like this. Operate this lever to lock it in place. The more traditional type actually has a rubber connector that you screw on, then screw onto the pump. I prefer these because they're easier to work with. When you repump your tyre up, it's quite possible with this sort to get carried away. Jiggle them like this, and you can saw through the bottom of the valve on the inner tube, which basically means you'd ruin the inner tube and you're still stuck and you're going to have to get a cab home. Right, those things being accepted, here we are. I'm going to put a bit of air back in the tyre, because what I want to do is see if I can locate the puncture by sound. It's going to make it much easier for me to figure out where to look for the repair. So pump it up. Have a listen. Work your way round. Have a listen. Now I figured out where it is. I can hear it quite clearly. And what I'm going to do now is mark it before I take the tube out. Yeah, someone's asked me if this is the same process for a BMX. It is. BMXs tend to use the fat car tyre valves. It's exactly the same process. Right, so I've kept my finger on roughly where I heard that noise coming out. Most puncture repair kits contain a piece of chalk. It's extremely useful because you can mark on the tyre, like I've done here, big white mark that you can see. And that will give me a rough idea of where the hole is. Just going to put this down for a second. Now, before I take the tube out, make sure you take the cap. I've already done this, but take the cap off the inner tube. It's normally a little plastic cap. Put it somewhere safe so you don't lose it. Road tyres with the Presta style of inner tube also have a little lock ring that holds the inner tube in place. Here it is. Take that off and put it somewhere safe too. So now I'm ready to take the inner tube out. What I'm going to do is use tyre levers. I'm going to use 2. You'll notice on this tyre that the valve is where the name is on the tyre. That makes it much easier to locate where your puncture might be. Someone's asking me about tubeless tyres. Tubeless tyres, they're a great system for mountain bikes. I think it's fair to say that their value is yet to be proven on a lot of road bikes based on some experiences from my friends. What I've done here, I've inserted the tyre lever. If you see this, it's got a little hook on it. What you want is that hook to go underneath the tyre. So it goes in, hook side, under, located. That lets you lever this tyre out. Now you don't want to do it with 1, try it with 2. So 2, and do it at the same time. 1, 2, like this. What it does is it pops more of the bead out. The bead is the wire that runs all the way around the inside of a tyre and holds it to the rim of the wheel. Now what I'm going to do is holding this tyre lever parallel to the rim, try and slide it along to release the tyre. So just work your way round. What I've now done is I've released the tyre. I can get at the inner tube. Now because I'm marked, what I've got to try and do now is just get my fingers in to get the inner tube out. So you can see I'm pulling the inner tube out. Now because I marked where I thought the puncture was, it's very easy for me to work my way around the tyre, find that mark and look for a hole. And I can actually see the hole here. What you can do is you can pump it up, the inner tube, and run it around near your eye and you'll feel the puff of air coming out. So, I'm going to assume you've been sensible and you brought another tube. There's lots of ways to, you can find out how to repair an inner tube really easy on the internet. The kits all have instructions in them as well, but we won't do that now because you have to leave it for a few minutes to let it, to let the solution that cures the patch go off. So we're just going to go, right, got my new tube, been a sensible boy, brought one with me. What I'm going to do, having first of all checked the tyre to make sure that I've taken out whatever it was that caused the problem. Often what happens is shards of glass get in and they work their way down and then they slowly puncture your tyre. So have a look inside, maybe, try and get some good light and see if you can see if there's anything inside poking through the tyre. It's a bit dangerous to run your finger around because if it's a piece of glass or a piece of wire, you're going to cut your finger when you do that. So use your eyes first or very, very gently feel with your hand. So, new tube, pushing it through the hole in the rim. what I'm going to do is very slightly inflate it, because it makes it easier to handle. So I've got a tiny bit of air in here. Not much, just enough to make it not go completely flat. Someone's asking me how fast I can change a tyre on a road bike. It actually depends somewhat on the tyre and the rim combination. Some tyres and rims are very easy to work on, and some are absolute pigs. Do it in a minute or two, a couple of minutes maybe. It depends if it's raining or not. Try and be faster if it's raining. Right, so what I've done is I've started to put, hopefully you can see this, just started to feed the inner tube into the tyre itself. So I'm going to work all the way around. I'm going to push the inner tube into the tyre. So it's held approximately in position. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start popping the tyre back on the rim. So you can see at the moment this rim tyre is off the rim. Start opposite the valve. There's a very good reason why. You can notice I've still got my name of my tyre clearly over the valve, so you know, just good practice that really. So here we go. At the other end of the tyre, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it, pinch my hand and fold it back over. So you can see I'm now inside the rim, and I'm going to work my way along holding this in place until I've got enough through that it's sort of holding itself in position. So this is now a much less fiddly process. Next, what I need to do is just make sure that I tuck the inner tube in to the tyre. The last thing you want to do, I'm going to work along and just secure it as I go. The last thing you want to do is pinch the inner tube between the rim and the tyre. If you do that, you'll get what's known as a pinch flap. You'll basically put a hole in your tube, and that's hugely frustrating if you think you're just about done. So you can see, just very gently working my way around. I'm going to go to the other side, working towards the valve. So now, I've only got a tiny bit of, like from here to here, that's not secured back on the tyre. This is the bit where it gets a bit difficult and can be a little bit uncomfortable. I'm going to try and do this as carefully as I can. What I'm going to do now is start rolling the tyre and pushing with my thumbs to push it up. And this is where working towards the valve is a really, really great thing. You can push the valve up and keep the inner tube clear. That means when you do that, you can't pinch the inner tube against the tyre. So there we go, I've pushed that up. I'm now going to quickly push, push, push. Normally takes a bit of effort to do this. Check. Right, back on. Just, I've reinserted it. All the way round. Check that the tyre is seated properly on the rim. And then blow up your tyre. That's it. Done. Thanks very much for listening. Hope that was useful. Bye.